I'm Clara. 6 years ago, I ran away from New York with a positive pregnancy test and a shattered heart. I left everything behind: my career, my marriage, my past, and started over in a small town, raising two children whose father didn't even know they existed. I thought I had buried it all so well, until the day of the accident, when the man I once loved, the man I ran from, walked into the emergency room and stared straight at the children who shared his eyes. Before I share the rest of my story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit like and subscribe if you've ever chosen family over perfection. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. The windshield wipers couldn't keep up with the snow. I squinted through the white blur, my knuckles white on the steering wheel as I navigated the mountain road. In the back seat, Mira was singing one of her made-up songs about unicorns, while Mason quietly corrected her rhyme schemes. 6 years old and already my little perfectionist. "Mommy, are we almost at school?" Mira asked, kicking the back of my seat. "5 more minutes, sweetheart." Those were the last words I remember saying before the world tilted sideways. The deer appeared from nowhere, a flash of brown against white. I yanked the wheel hard left, too hard. The tires found ice instead of asphalt. And suddenly we were sliding, spinning, the twins screaming as the guardrail rushed toward us. Then nothing. I drifted in and out of consciousness, caught between memory and nightmare. Voices filtered through the darkness. Urgent, professional. Severe concussion, internal bleeding, get her to surgery. But clearer than any of that were my children's voices, high and frightened. "Mommy! Wake up, Mommy!" In my fog, I was back in that Manhattan apartment 6 years ago, standing outside Grant's home office, my hand frozen on the doorknob. His voice carried through the wood. "Children? God, no. Not for at least 5 years. Maybe never. You know me, Richard. I didn't build this company to play house." The memory shattered as someone said my name. "Clara Whitmore, 35, motor vehicle accident." No, they couldn't know that name. I'd been so careful. 6 years of being just Clara, the art teacher. Clara who ran the Evergreen collective. Not Clara Whitmore, not the woman who'd fled New York with a positive pregnancy test and a broken heart. "Mommy!" Mira's voice again, closer now. "There's a man here. He looks sad." Through the haze of medication and confusion, I heard another voice, deeper, achingly familiar. "These children, they said their mother's name is Clara?" The nurse must have confirmed it because the silence that followed was deafening. Even in my semi-conscious state, I could feel the weight of recognition, the impossibility of coincidence. Grant was here, in Evergreen, in my hospital room, looking at our children. The children he never wanted. The children he never knew existed. My mind screamed at my body to wake up, to protect them, to explain. But I was trapped in this liminal space between sleep and waking, past and present. All I could do was listen as my carefully constructed world began to crumble. "The storm's getting worse," I heard the nurse say. "We need to figure out where to place the children until their mother wakes up. I'll take responsibility for them." Grant's voice cut through my panic like a blade. Calm, authoritative. The same voice that once commanded boardrooms and brokered million-dollar deals. "Sir, I appreciate the offer, but you're not family. I'm their father." The lie came so easily to him. Or maybe he already knew. Maybe he'd taken one look at Mason's serious gray eyes, so like his own, or noticed how Mira tilted her head when confused, exactly the way Grant did during difficult negotiations. I fought against the medication, desperate to surface, to scream that he had no right. But my body wouldn't cooperate. I was drowning in memories. Grant's hand on my belly the day before I heard that phone call. His absent smile when I'd mentioned wanting children someday. The way he'd already been pulling away, married more to his company than to me. "Mommy's gonna be okay, right?" Mason's voice, small but trying so hard to be brave. "She's strong," Grant replied. and I heard something in his voice I'd never heard before. Uncertainty. Your mom is the strongest person I know. Knew, I wanted to correct him. You knew me. You don't know who I've become. I existed in fragments for 3 days. Sometimes I'd surface enough to hear the steady beep of machines, the whispered consultations of doctors. But mostly I drifted, reliving the past I'd tried so hard to bury. In my dreams, I was writing letters I'd never send. Dear Grant, the twins started walking today. Mason first, careful and deliberate. Mira threw herself forward and fell 17 times before she got it right. They have your determination and my stubbornness. You'd hate how perfect that combination is. Dear Grant, Mason had a fever last night. 104 degrees. I've never been so scared. I kept thinking about calling you, about how you'd know which specialist to contact, which strings to pull. Instead, I held him in the emergency room of our small-town hospital and sang the lullaby your mother taught me, the one you hummed when you thought I was asleep. The dream letters scattered as I heard real voices. Grant was reading to the twins, something about wild things that I recognized from our bookshelf at home. His voice had changed, lost its sharp edges. Mr. Whitmore? A doctor. We need to discuss the children's situation. It's been 3 days, and while their mother is stable, we can't predict when she'll wake. The state requires they stay with me. No negotiation in his tone. I've already contacted my lawyers. Emergency custody papers will be filed within the hour. But sir, you haven't been in their lives. The court will want to know. I'll handle it. Of course he would. Grant Whitmore didn't accept obstacles. He removed them. But this time he was fighting for my children. Our children. The irony would have made me laugh if I could. Later, when the room was quiet except for the machines keeping track of my existence, I heard him on the phone. His voice was different when he thought no one was listening. Raw, uncertain. Cancel everything for the next 2 weeks. Yes, everything. The Tokyo merger can wait. A pause. Because I've just discovered I'm a father, Richard. Twin 6-year-olds. Yes, you heard that right. No, I had no idea. Clara never told me. The pain in his voice almost made me feel guilty. Almost. I dreamed of the last letter I'd written and never sent. The one still hidden in my jewelry box. Grant, they're yours, ours. I know I should have told you, but I heard what you said to Richard. You were right. You didn't build your empire to play house. So I'm giving you what you want, your freedom. And I'm taking what I need, the chance to love these babies the way they deserve. Don't look for us. Let me disappear. It's better this way. All my love and all my sorrow, Clara. She has your eyes. Grant's voice pulled me from the memory. He was talking to Mason. But that stubborn set to her jaw, that's all your mother. Mommy says I think too much, Mason replied seriously. She says sometimes I need to just feel instead. Your mother always was wiser than me. Then why aren't you married anymore? The silence stretched so long I thought they'd left. Then Grant spoke, his voice barely audible. Because I was too foolish to see what mattered. I thought being successful meant never slowing down, never making room for anything else. Your mom wanted a different life, a better life. Our life is good, Mira piped up defensively. We have art class every day, and Mommy lets us paint on the walls in the sunroom, and Aunt Sabrina makes the best cookies, and... Sabrina? Grant's voice sharpened. Sabrina Chase? My heart monitor must have spiked because a nurse came rushing in. As she fussed over my unconscious form, I caught Grant's quiet words to the twins. Come on, let's go get some hot chocolate. Your mom needs to rest. Even unconscious, I couldn't rest. Not when Grant was connecting dots, uncovering the life I'd built without him. Not when my children were falling under the spell of a father they'd never known they were missing. The first thing I saw when I finally opened my eyes was an empty room. No twins, no Grant, just the nauseating certainty that everything had changed while I was under. Oh, thank God! Dr. Martinez rushed in, all warm efficiency and relief. How are you feeling, Clara? My children. Where are my children? Her pause told me everything. They're safe. They're with their father in New York. He's been calling every hour for updates. New York. He'd taken them to New York. The panic must have shown on my face because Dr. Martinez quickly added, "It was necessary, Clara. You've been in a coma for 5 days. The state was going to place them in emergency foster care. Mr. Whitmore had his lawyers establish temporary guardianship. He saved them from the system. Saved them, or stole them. I couldn't tell the difference through my rage. I need a phone. Now." My hands shook as I dialed the number I still knew by heart. He answered on the first ring. Clara? Just my name, but weighted with 6 years of questions. You bring them back. Right now, Grant. You have no right. They're asleep. His voice was gentle, so unlike the Grant I remembered. In the guest room. Mira insisted on hanging her drawings on the walls. I let her. Mason organized all the books in the library by color. They had grilled cheese for dinner because apparently that's Friday tradition. I was crying before I realized it. He knew their Friday tradition. I couldn't leave them there, Clara. Not in some foster home. Not our... He stopped, then started again. They're mine, aren't they? The truth sat heavy on my tongue. Grant, Mason uses the same words I do when he's thinking. Mira has my mother's laugh. God, Clara, they're beautiful. They're perfect. And you kept them from me. You didn't want children. The words exploded out of me. I heard you, Grant. On the phone with Richard. No kids for 5 years, maybe never. You didn't build your company to play house, remember? Silence. Then, you heard that? I was coming to tell you I was pregnant. 2 weeks after our anniversary. I had the test in my hand and I was so happy, and then I heard you and I couldn't do it. I couldn't watch you resent them. I couldn't turn our babies into another item on your schedule, penciled in between meetings. So you just disappeared? 6 years, Clara. 6 years of their lives. 6 years of bedtime stories and skinned knees and first days of school. 6 years of being there, Grant, not managing them from a distance. Being there. I would you? Really? Would you have canceled Tokyo for a school play? Would you have learned to braid hair for picture day? Would you have given up everything you built to sit in a small-town emergency room at 3 a.m. with a sick child? This time, the silence was longer. When he spoke again, his voice was rough. I don't know, but you never gave me the chance to try. They want to come home, Grant said after a moment. They miss you, but the doctors say you need at least another week before you can travel, and the storm has shut down all the airports anyway. Then bring them here. Clara, my penthouse has better security, medical staff on call. Your penthouse has nothing for children. It does now. Something in his voice made me pause. I bought some things. Toys, art supplies. Mira mentioned she likes to paint, so I converted one of the spare rooms. And Mason seems interested in architecture, so I got him those building sets. The complex ones. I closed my eyes, picturing Grant Whitmore, CEO of everything, wandering through a toy store trying to figure out what 6-year-olds liked. Are they okay? Really? They're resilient, like their mother. A beat. But they need you, Clara. We should talk about... Not now. I couldn't handle custody discussions and legal battles. Not when my head was pounding and my children were 5 states away. Just take care of them, please. Always, he said. And for the first time in 6 years, I believed him. The thing about small hospitals is that news travels fast. Within a day of waking up, I had a visitor. You look like hell. Sabrina didn't believe in sugarcoating. She set a vase of evergreen branches on my nightstand and fixed me with her knowing stare. So, Grant has the twins. You knew he was coming to town? For the medical charity thing? Yeah, I kept meaning to warn you, but... She shrugged. Figured the odds of you two crossing paths were astronomical. I forgot the universe has a sick sense of humor. Sabrina settled into the visitor's chair like she was settling in for battle. We'd been through too much together for pretense. She'd been there for the twins' first breath, first steps, First, everything Grant had missed. "How bad is it?" I asked. "He's already filed for joint custody. My friend at the courthouse says his lawyers are thorough." My stomach dropped. "He can't just—" "Clara," Sabrina's voice gentled. "Honey, he's their father, and from what I'm hearing, he's actually trying, Mrs. Chen from the grocery saw him in the children's section, reading every label for allergens. He bought 17 different types of cereal because he didn't know what they liked." "That doesn't make up for 6 years." "No, but maybe it's a start?" I turned away, staring at the snow still falling outside my window. You didn't see his face when he talked about not wanting kids, like the very idea was poison to his perfect life. People change. Not Grant. Grant doesn't change. He optimizes. He's probably got a whole team strategizing how to integrate fatherhood into his portfolio. Sabrina was quiet for a moment. Then, "He called me. Did you know that? The day after he took them to New York. Said he found my number in Mira's backpack, on her emergency contact form." I looked back at her, surprised. "He asked me everything. Their favorite foods, their bedtime routine, whether Mason always got that worried crease between his eyebrows when he was thinking too hard. He took notes, Clara. Actual notes. And then he asked me what kind of mother you'd been." "What did you tell him?" "The truth. That you gave up a career most artists would kill for to teach finger painting in a small town. That you've spent every moment of the last 6 years making sure those kids knew they were loved, wanted, chosen. That you were the kind of mother most of us can only hope to be." The tears came then, hot and unstoppable. "He went quiet after that," Sabrina continued. "Then he said, 'I need to be the kind of father who deserves that kind of mother.' And he hung up. That night, I asked the nurse for paper and a pen. If Grant was taking notes, maybe it was time I showed him the ones I'd been keeping all along. But when I tried to write, all that came out was the truth. "Grant, do you remember the night we met? That awful gallery opening where someone mistook my abstract piece for damage to the wall? You were the only one who understood what I was trying to say with those violent brushstrokes. Controlled chaos, you called it. The beauty in letting go." I've thought about that every day for 6 years. How you could see so clearly into my art, but never into my heart. Or maybe you did see, and that's why you pulled away. The twins have your intensity and my chaos. It's a beautiful disaster, this life we've made. I wish you could have seen Mason's first attempt at finger painting. He tried to organize the colors into a spreadsheet before he'd touch the paper. Or Mira's business phase when she was 4, where she'd negotiate for extra bedtime stories with PowerPoint presentations she made from construction paper. They're so much like you, it hurts. And they're so much like me, it heals. I don't know how to do this, Grant. How to let you in after keeping you out. How to trust that you won't look at them one day and see obligations instead of miracles. How to... I stopped writing. Through my door, I could hear someone arguing with the nurses. A familiar voice, high and indignant. "I don't care about visiting hours. That's my mommy in there." Mira, my baby girl, fierce as a storm. "Miss, please, your mother she needs us." This time it was Mason, my quiet boy finding his voice. Then, cutting through it all, Grant, "Let them see her. I'll take responsibility." The door burst open and my children flew at me like tiny hurricanes. I gasped at the pain in my ribs, but held on tight, breathing them in. Vanilla shampoo and crayon wax and something indefinably theirs. "Careful," Grant said from the doorway. "Your mom's still healing." I looked at him over their heads. He looked exhausted, his usually perfect suit wrinkled, his jaw shadowed with stubble. He looked like a father who'd driven through a snowstorm because his children needed their mother. "Mommy, Daddy bought us 17 kinds of cereal," Mira announced. Daddy, the word hung in the air between us, a bridge neither of us knew how to cross. "We can't stay long," Grant said as the twins settled on either side of my hospital bed. their small bodies warm against mine. The storm's getting worse, but they needed to see you. Daddy's house is weird, Mira announced. It's all gray and white, and the fridge makes ice that's perfectly square. But he let us paint in the spare room, Mason added fairly, and he has a library with a ladder that moves. I caught Grant's eye. He shrugged, almost embarrassed. They're improving the place. Can we come home now? Mira asked, burrowing deeper into my side. Aunt Sabrina said you have to stay here for more days, but we could stay too. Daddy could sleep in the chair. That's not how hospitals work, sweetie, I said gently, even as the word daddy scraped against old wounds. Then Daddy could bring you to his house. He has a doctor that lives in the building. Dr. Raymond, he gave us lollipops even though we weren't sick. Mira, actually, Grant interrupted, that's not a terrible idea. Dr. Raymond could monitor your recovery and you'd be with the twins. Absolutely not. The words came out sharper than intended. We're going home to Evergreen as soon as I'm cleared. Clara, be reasonable. The forecast shows another week of storms. The roads. Since when do you care about weather? You once flew through a hurricane for a merger in Miami. That was before. He stopped, glancing at the twins. That was different. Why? Because now you have something to lose? The tension crackled between us until Mason, ever the peacemaker, spoke up. Maybe we could all go to Evergreen together. Daddy could see our house. And the art center. And meet Mrs. Chen and Mr. Roberto and… Your father's very busy, sweetheart. He has a company to run. Actually, Grant said quietly, I've cleared my schedule indefinitely. I stared at him. Grant Whitmore didn't clear his schedule. Grant Whitmore scheduled bathroom breaks. The Tokyo merger can wait. He moved closer, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Uncertainty. Clara, we need to talk. About custody, about everything. Not in front of… We know you're our dad. Mason's voice was matter of fact. We figured it out. You have the same eyes as me and the same way of frowning when you're thinking like Mira. Plus, Aunt Sabrina told us, Mira added helpfully. I groaned. Of course she did. Why don't you two go ask the nurses for some hot chocolate? Grant suggested, handing them money from his wallet. The machine's down the hall. They scampered off, leaving us in silence thick with unspoken history. Sabrina told you? I finally asked. She called me an idiot in 3 languages. Apparently, she minored in linguistics. Despite everything, his lips twitched. She also said you'd written me letters, hundreds of them. My cheeks burned. I never sent them. I know. She said you kept them in a box marked for the children when they're older, so they'd understand why they didn't have a father. Grant, I want to read them. No. Clara, no. I met his gaze steadily. Those letters were for a ghost, for the idea of you. They're not for this version of you. What version is that? The one who buys 17 cereals and converts spare rooms into art studios. The one who drives through blizzards because his daughter demands it. I don't know this version. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, neither do I. It was the most honest thing he'd said in 6 years. When I saw them in that waiting room, he continued, something inside me just broke. Or maybe broke open. They were so scared, but Mason was holding Mira's hand, telling her you were strong. And Mira was arguing that she was strong too, that she didn't need hand-holding. And I thought, I made these people, these incredible, complete people, and I almost missed it. You did miss it, I said quietly. First words, first steps, first day of school. I know. His voice was rough. But I'm here now, if you'll let me be. Before I could answer, the twins burst back in, faces covered in chocolate. The nurse gave us extra marshmallows, Mira announced. And she said Daddy looked like he needed some too because he's been here every single day, sleeping in the waiting room chair. I looked at Grant, surprised. You've been here every day? He shrugged. The penthouse was too quiet. Daddy's getting better at stuff, Mason observed. Yesterday, he made mac and cheese from the box instead of having Henri make it from scratch. Henri? His chef, Mira explained. But we like Daddy's better because he lets us put in extra cheese and he doesn't make us eat vegetables on the side. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Grant Whitmore, whose personal chef had trained at Le Bernardin, making box mac and cheese. Don't laugh, he said, but he was almost smiling. It's harder than it looks. All those tiny instructions. A week later, I was finally released. Grant had won the argument about where I'd recover, mainly because the twins staged what could only be described as a coup, packing my things while I slept and announcing they were all going to Evergreen together like a real family. The drive was surreal. Grant's rental SUV cut through the mountain roads while the twins chattered from the back seat, pointing out landmarks. That's where we get Christmas trees. That's where Mason threw up after eating too many snow cones. That's where Mommy's car went swoosh. Grant's hands tightened on the wheel at that last one. Turn left at the blue mailbox, I directed. Not the first blue one, the second. No, you missed it. Why are there two blue mailboxes on the same road? Mr. Patterson and Mr. Patterson Jr. They've been feuding for 20 years over property lines. The mailboxes are their passive-aggressive battleground. Grant glanced at me. And you love that. It wasn't a question. And he was right. I did love it. The small-town absurdity, the way everyone knew everyone's business, the complete opposite of our antiseptic Manhattan life. There it is, Mira shouted. Home. I watched Grant take in our life. The rambling Victorian that needed paint, the art studio attached like an afterthought, the garden buried under snow but still showing signs of chaotic abundance. Mason's tree fort, Mira's fairy garden, the wind chimes made from sea glass we'd collected on our one vacation to the coast. It's perfect, he said quietly. Inside was controlled chaos. Art supplies everywhere, mismatched furniture, walls covered in the twins' creations. Grant moved through it like he was in a museum, studying each piece. He stopped at a photo collage in the hallway. 6 years of birthdays, holidays, first days, all without him. We could add new ones, Mason suggested, appearing at his elbow. There's room. That night, after the twins were asleep, I found Grant in the kitchen, staring at my letterbox. Sabrina told you about that too? He nodded. She said you wrote one every week for the first year, then every month, then just on special occasions. I was angry. They helped. Were? I considered. Am present tense, but it's different now. Because I'm here? Because you want to be. He turned to face me fully. Clara, I need you to know what I said to Richard that day. I was terrified. My father was absent, cold. I was so sure I'd be the same, that I'd damage any child I had. It was easier to say I didn't want them than admit I was scared I'd fail them. And now? Now I'm still terrified, but I'm more scared of missing anything else. The next morning, I woke to find Grant making breakfast, badly. Daddy's burning the pancakes, Mira stage whispered. They're not burned, they're caramelized. That's what burned means, Mason explained patiently. I watched from the doorway as my children taught their father how to flip pancakes, how to tell when the bubbles meant they were ready, how to make Mickey Mouse shapes with the batter. The easy way they moved around each other, like they'd been doing this for years instead of days. Mommy's awake, Mira spotted me. Come see, Daddy made coffee the way you like it. I raised an eyebrow at Grant. He shrugged. You still take it with 1 sugar and oat milk. Some things don't change. After breakfast, I took him to the Evergreen Collective. The twins ran ahead, eager to show off their latest projects to anyone who'd listen. You built this? Grant asked, taking in the converted warehouse, the light-filled studios, the gallery space showcasing local artists. We built it. The whole town. It's not much. It's extraordinary. He was studying a mural the teenage class had painted last summer. This is what you always talked about. Art for everyone, not just people who could afford gallery prices. You remembered. I remember everything. He paused at a display of the twins' work. Mason's very technical, precise, but Mira, chaos theory in crayon form? She's got your gift. that ability to make people feel something just with color and shape. We watched our children through the studio window, Mira adding purple to someone else's painting, while Mason carefully organized brushes by size. "I bought the building next door," Grant said suddenly. I turned to stare at him. "What?" "Last week, while you were in this hospital, the owner was going to sell to developers, luxury condos." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "The twins mentioned you wanted to expand, add a pottery studio and a digital arts lab." "Grant, you can't just— It's in the twins' names, both buildings. Trust funds too, for college, or art school, or whatever they want." "You're trying to buy your way in." "No." Now he did look at me. "I'm trying to build something, the way you have, something that lasts longer than quarterly reports." Before I could respond, Mira came running. "Mommy, Mr. Roberto says Daddy bought the old Mitchell building. Can we really make a pottery place? Can we? Over her head, Grant and I stared at each other. 6 years of hurt and silence and missed chances between us, but also, maybe, the beginning of something new. "1 week," I heard myself say. "You can stay for 1 week, like a—" I struggled for words. "Trial run?" Grant suggested. "Experimental family," Mason piped up, and we all turned to look at him. "Like when we mix paints to see if the colors work together." That evening, we established ground rules. Grant would sleep in the guest room. We'd maintain normal routines. No lawyers, no custody talks, just seeing if the colors worked together. The first morning was a disaster. I woke at 5 a.m. to the sound of Grant in the kitchen, already on a conference call. "Understand the Soul team has concerns, but the preliminary numbers—" "It's 5 in the morning, I hissed, clutching my coffee mug like a weapon. He covered the phone. "I always start at 5. Earlier if there's international—" "Not here. Not in this house. The twins don't wake up until 7, and I will literally throw your phone in the snow if you wake them." He looked at me like I'd suggested burning money, but he hung up. Day 2 wasn't better. I found him reorganizing the pantry at midnight. "What are you doing?" "Optimizing. Did you know your cereal boxes aren't arranged by expiration date? And the pasta— Grant, step away from the spaghetti." "But it's inefficient. It's life. It's supposed to be messy." Day 3, the real fight came. Mason had been working on a school project, a diorama of the solar system. He'd spent hours getting the planets exactly to scale. Then Mira helped by adding glitter. Everywhere. Mercury looked like a disco ball. "You ruined it!" Mason screamed, the first time I'd ever heard him raise his voice. "I made it pretty," Mira shot back. "It's supposed to be accurate, not pretty." "Why can't it be both?" Grant stepped in before I could. "Mason, let's think about this logically. What's the actual problem?" "The glitter changes the scale, and it's not scientifically accurate. Space doesn't have glitter." "Space has stars," Mira argued. "Stars are nature's glitter." I watched Grant kneel between them, CEO mode engaging. "Okay, Mason, what if we made 2 versions? One accurate, one artistic?" "Mira, would you help me make a whole artistic solar system while Mason fixes his scientific one?" It should have worked. It was logical, fair, solution-oriented. Everything Grant did best. Instead, Mason burst into tears. "I don't want 2 versions. I want my sister to stop touching my stuff." And Mira, not to be outdone, sobbed, "I was just trying to help. I always help wrong." Grant looked at me, completely lost. The man who'd negotiated billion-dollar deals couldn't handle crying 6-year-olds. "Hey," I said softly, gathering both twins close. "Remember what we say about mistakes?" "They're just practice for getting it right," Mason hiccuped. "And remember what we say about projects?" "They're not as important as people," Mira whispered. "So what do we do now?" The twins looked at each other. Some silent twin communication passed between them. "Sorry," they said in unison. "Now," I continued, "Mason, how about you teach Mira about scale? And Mira, maybe you can show Mason how a little glitter on the rings of Saturn might actually be pretty accurate." Within minutes, they were collaborating, the the fight forgotten. Grant stared at me like I'd performed magic. How did you do that? 6 years of practice. That night, after bedtime stories, Grant read from a technical manual until Mira begged for a real story. We sat on the porch despite the cold, wrapped in blankets, watching stars. I'm failing at this, he said quietly. You reorganized my pantry. That's not failing. That's redirecting. Clara, you're trying too hard. You're approaching them like a problem to solve instead of people to know. I don't know how else to be. Learn. He was quiet for a long moment. That thing you did today, with the mistake thing, where did that come from? Therapy. Lots of therapy. Turns out running away from your life and raising secret twins creates some issues worth working through. Do you regret it? Running? I thought about lying, making it easier, but we were past easy. No, I regret that I had to. I regret that you were the kind of man I had to run from, but I don't regret choosing them over us. I wouldn't have chosen them, he admitted. Back then, you were right to go. And now? Now I can't imagine a world without them in it. He paused. Or you. Grant, I know. I know we can't just... I know. But Clara, A crash from inside cut him off. We found Mason in the kitchen, covered in flour, trying to clean up what looked like an explosion of pancake batter. I wanted to make breakfast for tomorrow, he explained tearfully, to surprise you, but I couldn't reach the milk and then everything fell and... Oh, sweetheart, I started, but Grant beat me to it. Hey, buddy, it's okay. You know what I did the first time I tried to make pancakes for you guys? Set off the fire alarm. This is much better. Come on, I'll help clean up, and you can teach me your mom's secret recipe. I watched them work together, Grant following Mason's careful instructions, and felt something inside me crack. Not break, exactly. Maybe just open, like Grant had said that day in the hospital. Maybe some things needed to break open to let the light in. The week stretched into 2, then 3. Grant's presence became part of our rhythm, awkward sometimes, surprising others. He learned to make box mac and cheese without checking the instructions. The twins taught him their Friday grilled cheese tradition. He taught them about spreadsheets, which Mira promptly used to track her crayon inventory. The day of the art show arrived like any other, except for the flutter of nerves in my stomach. The twins had been working on pieces for weeks, their first real exhibition. Daddy, you have to wear something colorful, Mira announced at breakfast. It's an art show, not a business meeting. Grant looked down at his gray sweater. This is colorful. It's charcoal. That's just fancy gray, Mason said. I hid my smile as they dragged him upstairs, returning with Grant wearing one of my paint-splattered scarves. He looked ridiculous. He looked perfect. The Evergreen collective was packed. The whole town had come out to support the kids' show. I watched Grant navigate the crowd, clearly out of his element, but trying. He listened intently as Mrs. Chen explained her watercolor technique. He bought 3 pieces from the teenage artists. He let Mr. Roberto teach him the proper way to appreciate sculpture. You trained him well. Sabrina appeared at my elbow. Only took 6 years and a near-death experience. Don't. I'm just saying, the man is wearing a paint scarf in public. That's growth. The lights dimmed for the main exhibition. One by one, the children presented their pieces. Then it was the twins' turn. Mason went first, showing a series of technical drawings, buildings that morphed into trees, mathematical precision meeting organic growth. It's called Where Logic Meets Life, he explained seriously. It's about how sometimes the best things don't make sense on paper. Then Mira bounced up with her canvas. My heart stopped. It was our family, not photographically accurate. She'd given everyone wings and painted the background in impossible colors. But it was us, all 4 of us, hands linked, standing beneath trees that looked suspiciously like the evergreens outside. The title card read, Family in Dreams, but maybe real life too. The applause was thunderous, but I barely heard it. Grant was staring at the painting like it held all the answers to questions he didn't know how to ask. After the show, as families filtered out and the twins helped pack up artwork, Grant pulled me aside. In his hands was a canvas I hadn't seen displayed. "I made this," he said quietly. The twins helped. Well, they mostly laughed at my complete lack of artistic ability, but he turned it around. It was us again, stick figures this time, standing beneath painted evergreens. But there was something else. A small building sketched in the corner, labeled Future. "I'm staying," he said. "Not just for another week, I'm staying. I bought a house here, nothing fancy, just that cottage on Elm. Close enough to walk, but far enough to give you space. I'm setting up a satellite office, working remotely except for essential trips. I want to be here, for them, for whatever you'll let me be." Grant, I'm not asking for everything. I'm not asking for us, not yet. Maybe not ever, if that's what you need. But I'm asking for the chance to be their father. Really be their father. Every day, not just weekends. Soccer practice and homework and sick days and all of it. This isn't you. You don't do small town. You don't do slow. I didn't. Past tense. He set the painting down carefully. "Clara, I've spent 6 years building an empire. You spent 6 years building a family. Guess which one feels more important when you're reading bedtime stories to kids who have your eyes?" "Mommy!" Mira ran up, clutching her painting. "Did you see? 23 people took pictures, and Mrs. Sullivan wants to commission one for her cat." "That's amazing, baby." "And guess what? Daddy said we could have a studio at his new house, too, for when we visit, with a wall just for painting on." I looked at Grant. "You bought a house with paintable walls?" "I bought a house with potential," he corrected. "Like me. I'm a work in progress." Mason appeared, thoughtful as always. "Does this mean you're staying? Like, forever staying?" Grant knelt to their level. "If that's okay with you. And your mom?" The twins looked at each other, then at me, then back at Grant. "We vote yes," Mira announced. "Democracy in action." "That's not how democracy works," Mason started to explain, but Mira was already dragging Grant away to show him something vitally important about paint textures. I stood there, surrounded by art and chaos and possibility. 6 years ago, I'd run from a man who couldn't make room for family. Now that man was learning to finger paint, wearing my scarf, planning a future in a town with 2 feuding blue mailboxes. "Hey," Grant called from across the room where the twins were teaching him to mix colors. "Clara, what do you think about art lessons? For me, I mean. I'm apparently hopeless at clouds." "Everything's hopeless at clouds," I called back. "That's what makes them beautiful." He smiled. That new smile I was still learning. The one that belonged to a father, not a CEO. "Then I'm in the right place." Later, after everyone had gone home and the twins were asleep in the back seat, Grant drove us home through streets lined with evergreens. The letter I'd started in the hospital was still in my pocket, unfinished. Maybe that was okay. Maybe some stories were better lived than written. "I love you," he said quietly, eyes on the road. "I've loved you through every merger, every milestone, every moment I pretended not to need what you offered. I don't need you to love me back, not yet. But I need you to know that everything I'm doing, the house, the changes, all of it, it's not to win you back. It's to become someone worth knowing, someone worth trusting, someone worth—" "Grant, yeah? Ask me again in a year." "Ask you what?" "Whatever you're going to ask. Ask me when you've survived 4 seasons in Evergreen. When you know what the twins look like with chicken pox and failed tests and broken hearts. When you've learned that sometimes the best part of the day is the disaster, not the plan." He pulled into our driveway, our messy, chaotic, perfect driveway. "A year? Maybe 2. I can wait," he said. "I'm getting good at believing in things that don't make sense on paper." And maybe that was enough. For now. For this fragile, experimental family still learning how to blend their colors. Outside, snow began to fall again, covering everything in possibility. The evergreens stood witness, patient and enduring, like hope itself. In the morning, there would be 17 cereals to choose from and pancakes to burn and chaos to embrace. But tonight, we were home. All of us. Finally, home.